Howdy, how y'all doing? This is George the Fearless Rambler, and I'm hoping you guys are having a wonderful day. Do you know what today is? Yes, it's hike day. So let's go on a hike on the Big Phil Trail located in the Golden Spike National Historic Park. This is a family-friendly 1.5 mile round-trip educational walk on pretty easy grade. It's where the Central Pacific and the Union Pacific Railroads built parallel grades right next to each other. And you end up at the Central Pacific Big Phil and the location of the Union Pacific Big Trestle. Now, come join us. We're going to go ahead and do the Big Phil Trail. Now, when we get up there, they were in competition of building the track, so you'll see two sets of where the tracks were laid. And one they did a Big Phil, the other one they did a Trestle. Which one did the Trestle? Okay, Union Pacific did the Trestle, so the Central Pacific did the Big Phil. And we're going to just take this trail, and it's going to be right here. We're going to walk around and go see the Big Phil.
Former workers signed on to do the backbreaking job of constructing the Big Phil.
Can you imagine taking dump carts and filling all that in?
Just little wooden carts.
Yeah, I take it, we're looking over here, that must be the cutout right there.
What
And we've got the
loop's
Big
wrong?
Phil. Well, I think the Big Phil's on the other side of that. So we're coming in from this way, and then we're gonna go see the Big Phil. So
Are
we're
we going up on the hill up there?
no, I think we're going to that. Right there. I think we're on this side, and we're gonna walk through this, and then we're gonna see the Big Phil.
Oh, gotcha.
Directly across from where you step onto the railroad grade is a plaque commemorating the Orange Special Wreck.
So which way is the Big Phil, Terry? Wait, that way. Yeah, there we go. You go that way to the Big Phil. Orange?
We're standing on the historic rail bed, and to your right at that gate that separates the old rail bed from the highway. Oh, this is actually rail bed.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay. So when I took a picture up there, it was going around here.
Oh, you can. Oh yeah, you can. You can see the railway. The
Up
railway
to that cut.
to that cut right there.
That's where we came through.
You can see the railway go across here. Going to come across the road, and we are on the old.
We were actually driving on part of the rail bed.
Well, you can see it's actually below the
We
road.
were up there on the corner, and we drove down it. Here's the road we were on.
Yeah, but notice it looks like it's below it there.
Oh yeah, maybe it is below it. You're right. We're driving above it. So let's see. To your right at the gate that separates the old rail bed from the highway, the Southern Pacific covered an old trestle with fill on the steepest grade on the Promontory Mountains. For years, helper engines called hogs stationed at Promontory Station were used to assist in getting heavy loaded trains up the hill to hold back the freight cars. In the spring of 1888, during the heavy orange season, whole fruit trains were put on passenger schedule and rushed east at speeds averaging almost 30 miles an hour. Even while going down treacherous East Promontory Hill, there was a sense of urgency, so desire for speed sometimes got the better of caution, and at one such time, and probably for that reason, 4 or 5 boxcars in the middle of an orange special jumped the track on the hill fill and rolled down the south embankment for some short distance, causing the boxcars to split open and scattering the orange crates over the hillside, with many of the crates themselves splitting open. Large quantity of these oranges were subsequently retrieved in a more or less bruised condition, to the point where all the close ranchers on East Promontory Mountain and local railroad employees in the area were eating more oranges in the ensuing 2 weeks than they would ordinarily consume in an entire year.
Yeah, Christmas all over. We have a tradition in our families that we get an orange or tangerine, and now we get what? Little cuties in our stockings. That's because of oranges were special in the old days, and that tradition still carries on today. Is it a trestle?
We're on a trail to the site of Old Trestle.
So, if you call this, when you go on these trails, you get to hear some of the stuff. So let's hear this little stop here.
Leading crews to work up to 300 miles ahead of track lane crews. These changes also allowed both railroad companies to receive a portion of their government subsidies for completion of grade, rather than waiting to receive all of their subsidies after track was laid and inspected.
Cool.
Because a meeting point had not been mandated,
So as you're walking, you get to listen to the story, what's going on.
construction, as their work crews drew closer to one another. Consequently, they built grades past each other for 250 miles. When a meeting
250
point was
miles?
finally agreed upon, both companies discontinued grading beyond promontory summits. Consequently, you will see both complete grade and partially constructed grade throughout the park. You are now walking on what was the Central Pacific's grade. Below you is the Union Pacific's grade. Much like laying the bed of an asphalt road, building the grade took the most time in constructing the Transcontinental Railroad.
You know what? It might say on the sign. Oh, gosh.
Enter your stop number now, or press *0 to leave us your feedback.
Feedback, passport, pauses too.
Now we should be able to see some holes in the wall here where they actually chiseled it
By
down.
1860,
So somewhere.
rock cuts and fills had to be constructed along the route to bring it within the required grade of 2% or less. When possible, material from the cuts was used to create fill. To make the cuts, a two-man team called double jackers drilled holes in solid rock using a long, narrow drill bit, which is repeatedly struck with a heavy sledgehammer or double jack. After the hole was drilled, a worker called a powder monkey would fill it with black powder, carefully tamp and fuse the powder, and set off the charge. A successful blast would reduce the rock to a size that could be shoveled into a mule-drawn dump cart and taken to an area that needed to be filled.
The drill marks. Yeah, I can't find the drill marks either.
They're somewhere. Maybe, oh, here's another big cut down here. Maybe they're more visible
Enter
down
your
here.
stop number now, or press *0. Stop number now, or press *0 to leave us your feedback. Below you is a spoils pile. When debris from construction of rock cuts wasn't needed, the rock was dumped into mounds called spoils piles. Most of these piles were side-graded. That is, each spoils pile featured a different size of rock. Notice, too, the top of this spoils pile is perfectly flat. In this case, flattening of the top surface may have been done to create a work area along the grade. Enter your stop number now, or call us back when you're ready.
They were really close to each other. Because there's the other one right there.
Changes to the Pacific Railroad Act allow grading.
Yeah, they're
Doing on their charge piles right over there.
yeah, some kind of badger hole or something right there.
Oh yeah. Huh. Yeah.
Oh, right here.
Come together.
So they
Oh, there we go.
drilled down.
There's one of the drill marks right there. That's what we've been looking for. And then they would fill it up with gunpowder
Black powder, yeah.
or black powder,
Same
and
stuff.
they're called
The
powder.
powder monkeys would come through and fill the holes and then connect all the holes with a fuse. They would clear the area and fire in the hole.
Boom! Oh yeah. What do you think, Terry?
I was just looking for more. I know there's more, but there's not a lot left because as it exploded, it would blow out. So
Yeah.
A lot of the holes are
That,
left.
yeah, but it doesn't look too natural, does it? That looks like there's a drill hole right there.
It really kind of does. So maybe they had some rock in a big boulder here they were trying to get out of the way. So they made a lower cut.
Well, maybe it wasn't quite at the big fill.
Well, I think it is because you can see it.
Welcome back to the tour. Enter your stop number now, or press *0.
So that means Union is
The
right
harsh
below us.
terrain
Yeah.
surrounding you was also home to thousands of railroad workers during the final days of the railroad's construction. Central Pacific's camps were located to the west, and several Union Pacific camps were scattered in the valley below you. Although many Union Pacific camps maintained reputations as hell on wheels towns, only Deadfall held this distinction in the promontory area. Because most of the Union Pacific camps near Promontory were comprised of Mormon workers, they were relatively peaceful places.
Up close and personal with the rocks, the Transcontinental Railway. Probably does.
You can see the layers, you can see the different types of rock.
Okay, now I think we're coming up to the big fill. Oh, it's a little windy today. Here it comes.
As late as December 1868, Central Pacific surveyors planned a route that would require blasting an 800-foot tunnel through the east face of the Promontory Mountains. During an inspection of the site, Central Pacific President Leland Stanford overruled the idea as too costly and time-consuming. Surveyors picked a new route that avoided tunneling but posed a new problem: how to cross Spring Creek Ravine. In February 1869, the Mormon construction firm of Benson, Farr & West began work on the Central Pacific's Big Fill to span the ravine. Imagine placing the first small, mule-drawn dump cart load of fill at the bottom of the ravine below you. The work that followed took over 2 months of intense effort by 250 dump cart teams and more than 500 workers. Load after load of fill, totaling more than 101,000 cubic yards, was required to conquer the 500-foot chasm. The Big Fill remains one of the more impressive construction efforts in the history of American railroading. To span Spring Creek Ravine, the Union Pacific constructed the Big Trestle, which was located 150 feet east of the Big Fill. Because it was meant to be a temporary structure, construction of the Big Trestle took only 36 days, as compared to the Central Pacific's Big Fill, which took more than 2 months. The trestle was 85 feet high and 400 feet long, and as one reporter put it, there were no words that, quote, would convey an idea of the flimsy character of that structure, end quote.
So this right here is the false cut. Probably was doing the wrong place, so they either moved it there or they moved it on this side. I'm not sure which railroad did the false cut, but there you go. We're going to go and look at the false cut, and we're going to walk over to. So that's a false cut here, and then what?
The area on which you are standing is one of the abutments of the Big Trestle. Take a moment to imagine what the Big Trestle looked like spanning the ravine in front of you as compared to the Big Fill on your left. If you were traveling by rail to Promontory, which would you prefer?
The trestle would be prettier. Yep, there it is. Over to the far
So
side.
this is Carmichael's cut, and you can see the drill marks.
Oh, you can see the drill marks in this one for sure.
Yeah, they said there's a lot more you can see in this one, and they said it was cut in steps, so that different people could work on different levels. So you can see definitely on this side, you see the different levels. They stair-stepped.
Oh yeah, stair-stepped it up.
And they said you can see the drill marks more on this one too, so have to look.
Oh, we just see the one.
You are now walking through Carmichael's Cut, which is part of the Union Pacific's grade and has a multitude of drill marks through it. As you continue on through the cut, see how many drill marks you can find. The entire cut procedure was done in a stair-step fashion, meaning that several crews worked at different levels and on both sides of the cut at the same time. This type of construction allowed cuts to be created faster and more efficiently. Now step to the end of Carmichael's cut and take a look at the opposite side of the fault cut.
We got stop number 11.
What appears to be the fault cut.
Back side of the fault cut.
This side of the fault cut is a good example of stair-step construction and how railroad workers blasted their way through the rocks to create a finished cut, such as Carmichael's cut.
The cuts.
Is it because it goes right there and then up like that? We see 1, 2, 3 layers.
Right.
And the not so great Salt Lake right there.
Well, that's the remains of Lake Bonneville. Salt Lake's actually clear over there to the right.
Yeah, Lake Bonneville. Again, they're using that as farmland or at least pasture.
During construction of the Transcontinental Railroad, a telegraph line was also built alongside the railroad grade. The telegraph made communication between various points along the railroad immediate, which greatly facilitated obtaining supplies and materials and enabled station masters to effectively manage traffic on their parts of the transcontinental route. Most important, the telegraph enabled instant communication across the nation, further linking east and west.
Oh, it must be like this cave thing. What do you think?
Small rock shelters are scattered throughout the promontory mountains. This particular rock shelter may have been used as a cache for construction materials or as a shelter during blasting.
Aminals in there.
There are animals. Oh, I think there's a cave bear in here. Oh my goodness. This is a good natural shelter, isn't it?
Yeah. Right where you're standing.
See, it looks like it's like back in here. So they've had fires in here, right here. So you see the wood tar coming off of there. Maybe coal tar. So yeah, they sure use this as a shelter. Oh.
Probably keep the gunpowder dry in a rainstorm.
Probably. Certainly fairly flat because we know the grade, though maybe the worst grade they had on the railroad, isn't a bad hiking grade. Something to do. I think that's the back of the big fill right there. Yeah. Onto these guys. I bet they appreciated it. Here's that little den that we were looking at. Big dig.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Probably been there a while.
Now this is the not so big fill. Got two of them. One right here and one right there. Not so big. The wind's kind of caught up. Hold my hat. I'm gonna lose it. Uh-oh, here comes 14, Terry.
In late 1869, the Central Pacific assumed responsibility for the segment of railroad between Promontory and Ogden. The Union Pacific abandoned its grade, including the Big Trestle, and the grade built through this area by Central Pacific became the main line for the next 36 years. Because it was no longer used, the Union Pacific grade deteriorated and is now much smaller than its counterpart. During your walk, take time to notice the difference between the two grades. The Promontory Mountains, which once served as a looming reminder of the harsh terrain, now stand watch over the achievements of those who labored here. These achievements remain preserved at Golden Spike National Historic Site as a tribute to the perseverance and talent of all who worked to complete an engineering marvel that opened a new chapter in our nation's history, the era of the railroad. This new era brought sweeping changes to America and united the country as never before. Geographically, economically, and politically, the nation was tied together by a band of iron rails on which a new generation of Americans raced to lay claim to a future full of promise. We hope that you have enjoyed your walk along the Big Phil Trail. For more information about the Transcontinental Railroad, talk to a ranger, visit our website, www.nps.gov, or visit the bookstore in our visitor center. Thank you for visiting Golden Spike National Historic Site.
This walk on the Big Phil Trail here at the Golden Spike National Historic Park has certainly been enjoyable. We appreciate each one of you for joining us today, and I hope you got some education out of this. Do me a favor and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give me a thumbs up, because this is George, the Fearless Rambler. Certainly my legs are tired out. Signing off.